One of the most common worries in our world is money. We find that if married couples don't agree on how to manage their money, it's really a predictor of relationship problems that's very accurate. In our lives, if we're not at peace with how our money is being used and how it's invested and what we're spending it on, we find that it's a big predictor of stress and even actual physical health problems. And so today we want to talk about how can we learn to live without worrying about our money while taking care of our money and using it for the purposes for which it's been provided. Well, Jesus has this beautiful saying where he says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart shall also be." So we want to think about how do we take our money and how do we put that where our heart is. Now, I know there's some of our money that's just spoken for. You got to have groceries, you got to pay the mortgage or pay rent, or whatever it might be. You got to keep the lights on, you got to keep the car running. Yeah, there's all that. But how can our relationship with money no longer cause us stress? Well, there are really two steps. One, we need to understand how money works. And there are two parts of this. Understanding how money works means understanding how money works in the worldly economy in which we live and understanding how the money works in God's economy. Now, here's what I mean by that. Understanding how money works in the worldly economy is you need to understand, how to acquire money, how to earn money, the money you can expect to acquire, the expenses you can expect to acquire, and also how to build wealth, how to use your money so that it works for you. And there are many places you can find this. But if you are not familiar with this, some of us grew up in homes where we were taught this early on. Others of us didn't. And we need to find professionals and we need to find resources that can help us. So if that's something where you don't have a good idea of how you're going to build wealth throughout your life or how to have a plan for the money you're going to need for the next season of life, there are a lot of resources that can help you do that. I'd encourage you to do that. It's a practical way to take good care, be responsible with what you've been given. Now, two, we've got to understand how money works in God's economy, why God gave us money. And God really articulates some purposes for money that God has for us throughout the Bible. And it's pretty clear there are three things God expects us to be doing with money. Now, the first thing, and actually, interestingly enough, you wouldn't guess this, but most of our money, God expects us to have to spend on our needs. God expects that a large majority of the money we get, we'll have to spend on living life and providing for our families. That's God knows the details and the practicalities of life. Then God also talks about something called tithes. And tithes in the Bible is regular gifts that we give to God to give God thanks for all God has given us and that are used to help and to bless others, right? This is normally in the Bible referred to as about 10% of what we have. God instructs us to give in that manner. And then above and beyond that, God gives us the opportunity to give out of gratitude to help others or when we see a special need, right? So that's God's purposes for money. So we sit down and we say, okay, what are my needs going to be? What's my earning potential? How can I invest my money so that I have enough to take care of myself and my family, so that I can give a tithe to my church, and so that I have enough to be generous? So maybe I can give some to my school. Maybe I can give some to the local food pantry, whatever it might be, so that we have that plan. And if we have that plan in place for ourselves, it takes down worry so much, right? So much, because no matter how much money you get, the world's always going to tell you that you need more. And no matter how many things you get, the world's always going to tell you that you need more of them. And I mean, sometimes you do. But this is why we actually see sometimes as people reach certain income levels, their stress goes up rather than down because they've got all this and now they're being told they need all this, and they've got to go back and say, okay, I'm getting pretty good at how the worldly economy works. Let me go back and now study how God's economy works. And then finally, part of God's economy that really leads to a sense of peace is this idea that we're supposed to be generous, right? We're supposed to share what we have, share our knowledge, share our wisdom, share ourselves in friendships, and also share our resources and give generously. God says that whenever we give, when we use something to bless someone else, when we give to the church, we're supposed to give generously. Now, what does that mean? It's not just about the amount we give. Yes, it has to do with the amount, but it's not just that. There's something beyond the amount that's important there, and it's this. And I want you to know this is the key to generosity, that takes generosity from an obligation we have to a blessing that we're able to participate in. We're not supposed to count what we could have done with it, so that when we give it, we don't constantly think, oh, I could have bought this or I could have bought that if I hadn't given this. No, we think, I had the opportunity to help. I had the opportunity to honor God. I had the opportunity to bless someone else. And when we think like that, again, it takes us from a sense of worry about there not being enough to a sense of gratitude that we had more than enough and that we were able to help somebody else. And that's what God says. God says, if you will learn how this works, and if you will learn how money works in the worldly economy and learn how it works in my economy, then I promise that there's going to be enough for you, and that you will be able to find joy and not have to worry about this the whole time. Because what you've learned to do by learning how the worldly economy of money works and how the heavenly economy of money works is you've learned to put your treasure where your heart is. I hope this is helpful. If you'd like to learn more about how to get over worry about money and live with peace when it comes to how you manage your resources, I hope you'll check out our YouTube channel. It has a message from this week, both from myself and from Pastor Larry, about this very topic that goes into a lot more detail that can really help you specifically address it in your life and in your family. We hope it's helpful. We hope you're doing well. We're so thankful that you chose to spend this time with us. God bless you, and may God's peace be with you.